Hello and welcome to today's episode of NQT-Resources. If you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe to stay up to date with the episodes. Today we will dive straight into our topic. If you are thinking of becoming a teacher but don't quite know yet how to approach the whole thing, in today's episode I will tell you how I got into teaching. We will talk about the different pathways into teaching and what the main differences are, and we'll also talk about finances. So how did I get into teaching? Before I became a teacher, I was working in events for years, and I had toyed with the idea of becoming a teacher for a while, but I didn't quite know how to approach it. And one day I ended up working at this event called Train to Teach, and it happened to be an event tailored for people like me who were looking into becoming teachers but didn't know how to approach it. So these events, they take place all over the UK and they actually give you information on how to become a teacher. So I continued working at these events and I picked up all the information that I needed before I could actually apply and enroll in the program. Now, no joke, before I could actually start my training, it took me about a year to prepare and get everything ready that I needed to start my training. I can only speak for myself here if I say that for me it was definitely not a walk in the park. For some of my friends and colleagues it has been a walk in the park, as they assure me, but for me it was a very, very stressful time. For one, I'm an EU citizen, so I had to do the IELTS test again, the dreaded qualification for people whose first language isn't English, and I'd already had 2 degrees in English literature, of which one was from the University of London, and still I had to do it, and score 7.5 in each and every discipline in order to get into the uni that I wanted to get into. Like everyone else, I had to also pass the numeracy and the literacy tests, and I had to do GCSE equivalency tests in maths as well as English. Now, I have Dyscalculia, which is this thing with maths where you can't do maths very well, which was a complete pain because it meant that I actually had to start from scratch all over again. Like I thought once I was done with school, I'd never have to touch it again, but here we are. I had to actually sit down every day for pretty much a year and teach myself maths with YouTube videos. Yay! Fun times. So I'm very happy to report that I passed both my maths tests first time round. However, guess what? They actually only gave me 7 instead of 7.5 in the essay writing part of the IELTS, which is a total joke, right? Total joke. And that almost meant that I didn't get into my preferred university. So it was a total whirlwind of emotions because it was so much work to prepare for all of this stuff. And then to be standing there with the option of it actually not working out after a year of actually losing lots of money due to the time that I had to spend on training myself up for this and not being able to work during the tough times, you know. And then also the cost of the tests. I mean, the IELTS is expensive, the GCSE equivalency tests are expensive, and it's really nerve-wracking, you know, like it's stressful, this stuff. So I was so relieved when I finally got in. Yeah, and that's where it all only started. Now, I'd like to mention this before I forget. Some universities will require you to do at least a week's work experience in a school. So that means you just have to observe, but you need something that will actually say that you've done it. So you need to have something that says that you've observed in a school for a week. And make sure you read all of those little small print things before you start your training, because if you're missing one of them, that could get you into trouble and you don't want that. You want to avoid that at all costs. There is no yes or no answer to this question, I have to say, because personally for me, I didn't find the university part of it very hard. So you do the seminars and workshops and interactive stuff, and assessments, of course, so you have to write essays about different topics, and that wasn't so challenging. But the workload of it all is just so enormous and immense. And you'll have to get used to this, because this will never change during your whole career as a teacher. There'll always be a lot of work, but you'll get better at organizing yourself and just becoming better at structuring yourself and your lessons and your plans and what you need. So it's just part of the job, and it's better to get used to that as soon as you can. So yeah, don't fool yourself thinking that it'll be easygoing because of the holidays, because yeah, it's not. Trust me on that one. So how does the Pgce work? That's what I did. It's the Postgraduate Certificate of Education, and it's university-led. So it works the following way. You have 1 month of university, then you go into your first placement, which means you'll do your first little bit of teaching and being observed by your mentor, which is at first a bit nerve-wracking, but get used to it, because that also belongs, it's just a part of teaching. And it's a good thing, because it just makes you used to being observed, and it will give you feedback on how you actually behave in a classroom, what you do that could be improved upon, and that's what you want. You want to become better at what you're doing. And it's just a normal thing that belongs to the profession. It will make you a better teacher. But I digress. So yeah, 1 month of uni, then your first placement, another month of university, and then your next placement. These 2 placements, they can be very different. So my first one was in a community school, and the second one was in a grammar school. Both of them were super interesting and totally different to each other. So that's really interesting about teaching as well. You can end up at so many different schools where the kids are completely different and the attitude is completely different. And it's really eye-opening that you get all of those different streams, and just in the UK there's so much diversity, and it's really interesting to be a teacher and to see all of those different things. Yes, so to sum this up again, you'll have university, a placement, university, a placement, university again, and then holidays! Summer holidays, 6 weeks of glorious summer holidays that you will have earned and deserved, I promise. And then you'll jump into your first proper job. Fantastic, hopefully. For the Pgce, you need to have a degree or be working towards a degree. You need a GCSE grade 4 or C. And if you want to become a primary teacher, you also need a science subject. If you don't have a degree or an equivalent qualification, you can train on a university-led undergraduate course, which will leave you with a QTS, Qualified Teacher Status. Or you can work as a further education teacher. For further information on that, please read up on it on the education.gov website. So back to the postgraduate teaching courses. They're available all over England. They're led by universities or schools. All of those schools will offer you QTS, so Qualified Teacher Status, which you will need to work as a qualified teacher in UK schools. However, some private schools don't ask for it. You will have a mentor who will be absolutely covered in work because they're a teacher, but they'll hopefully do their best to help you out with the requirements that you have to fulfill during your training year. So they will be the ones who observed you during your teaching time, and they'll give you feedback. One of my mentors had a book where she wrote down notes for me, and that was really helpful, and I still keep those books and look into them for reference for myself sometimes. Then you will have a big black folder probably. For me that was called ARF, I can't remember what that stood for. However, so this folder is filled with lots of little tasks that you will have to accomplish and complete during your teacher training, and they're usually linked to teacher standards. And yeah, it's just lots of things that you have to do in addition to the teaching, the planning and the assessments for university. Most courses will offer you the Pgce. However, if that's something that you really want, which is understandable, please check with your provider before you start training, because if it turns out you can't get it from them in the end, that will leave you very disappointed, and we don't want that. Now let's talk about the money. Depending on your situation, you can get a tax-free bursary or a scholarship. How much you'll get depends on the subjects you will teach, because if there's a shortage for those subjects, your bursary will be a bit higher, or your scholarship. You can also get a tuition fee and maintenance loan, and if you're a parent or a carer, you can get extra financial support for that as well. And here's an important heads up for you. It is very likely that during your first year of teaching, you'll earn less money than you will get during your training. That's because you'll have to pay taxes, which is not the case during your training. There's also the option of salary teacher training, but you'll know in a minute why I mentioned this last. So your first option would be the postgraduate teaching apprenticeship. It consists of classroom training and off-the-job training, and you'll also have an endpoint assessment. The second option is Schools Direct. It's salaried, and both of those will award you the QTS, Qualified Teacher Status. However, heads up, you will end up with less money than you would with the bursary or the scholarship, because you would be paid as an unqualified teacher and taxed. Your third option is Teach First. It takes 2 years, and you can do an extra year to gain your master's degree if you want. There'll be a 5-week introduction training starting in June, and your classroom time will start in September. Your teaching salary in year 1 outside of London will be between 17,682 and 27,965. I told you I wasn't good with numbers. I'm a languages teacher. I really hope this gave you an idea of what you're in for before you even start the profession. Please leave a comment down below if you'd like to know about anything very specific in this video, and I can make another video of it. Like the video and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you here again very soon. Be well. Bye bye. I really hope this gave you a good idea. I really hope this gave you a...